For the latest top tips, reviews and advice, please subscribe below.
Hello and welcome to Attwoolls Outdoors with me, Mike. Today I'm giving you a bit of a review video on a brand new tent from Vango. So over here today I've got the Vango Teepee Air 400. So as the name suggests, we've got a kind of inflatable teepee tent, a bit of a hybrid really. So you've got the main chamber itself, which is inflatable, one single inflation point, very easy to pitch. And we've got one nice strong steel pole, giving you a bit more of a canopy to increase this sort of space as well. So it's kind of a different design, something a bit different to that we've seen from Vango, but it's still got the kind of real Vango DNA built into the actual tent itself. So we talk about sort of things like the material itself. This is it's again a nice solution dyed fabric. Joys of this being is actually that it has the kind of color lock 2 technology into it, which is kind of down to the way that fabric's been dyed. It's made it more eco-friendly, so it saves an awful lot of water, but more importantly, it kind of helps with colour retention. So it means that the colours can last and look sharper for longer. So good news on that sort of things. And the best way to kind of explain it is the difference between, say, like a carrot and a radish. Bear with me a second while I explain. The carrot essentially is the process we have here. Where if you cut a carrot in half, you have the colour all the way through it, whereas a radish, you cut that in half, then you've got kind of the white of the inside and then the colour of the outside. So that would be kind of the old method of doing it. So this way, as the UV, basically, i.e. sun, starts beating down it, you'll still get that, as it sort of strips away the outer layer from UV degrading the material, you still get that core colour at the centre of it, which is the main thing. It's one single inflation point located here, and you've got Vango's airspeed tube. It physically locks on like a bayonet locking, and then you get a manual stirrup pump supplied with it, which works really nicely. In terms of the overall width, at its widest point, it is about 4.40 meters, and obviously that tapers in a little bit. It's designed, as the name suggests, as a 4-person. I think really it's going to be probably a snug 4-person, probably more free or a very comfy couples tent, and we'll look inside in a moment and sort of talk through a load of more features. High visibility guy lines, so on there, so give ability to make sure you're not going to have trip hazards at the middle of the night. Roof ventilation not only on the front but also the back. We've got windows built into the side again, with a lower level mesh part to help airflow when it comes to being kind of those rainy days like it is today. You can actually zip the actual ventilation point up, so you still have the window, but of course you can carry the zip further if you want that level of privacy as well. So that's a really nice kind of feature. It has a physical sewn-in ground sheet and uses kind of there's an inner bedroom supplied inside it, which we'll look at in a second, which is Vango's lights out technology. So it's a darker inner to hopefully sort of mean you don't catch the early morning light. And from a waterproof level, we're looking at about 3,000mm high steady head, about 68D fabric. So it's a decent sort of fabric, but the steel pole really helps it. The other thing is in terms of actually kind of sheltering from the front door. You always have to pitch with the pole, it's worth saying that, but this kind of extra parts at the front here is designed that actually helps to give more structural stability to the tent. And typically teepees are one of probably the strongest tents there are on the market, just because aerodynamically air and wind can kind of brush over it. Tell you what, let's bring the camera around, look into the tent and talk through a few more features that the teepee has to offer. So now into the front of the tent, you can probably appreciate for this kind of front door scenario. So you have got your normal blank door when you want to get kind of that weather type feel. You have got a bit of storage section down here, so even though you've got sort of the sides, you can have like cool boxes, keep your shoes out here, or in theory probably have a little cooking unit just out the wind and the rain. Now you've got a full frontal mesh door as well. So you've got a mesh door built into the whole front part of the tent. Here we go. So that's your bug-free barrier, obviously twinned as a zip down the bottom as well, twinned up with kind of the ones on either side. The thing about the nature of teepee is, I love it in terms of kind of the looks and that, but one thing I always notice from a practicality point of view, they're not always the most practical, just because all the sides slope in. So what you do find is your usable space, even though you might have a nice big floor plan, sometimes isn't always the best. So, for example, in here, if we take like a chair, for example, you can't have it too far in, away from the side, because you've got to allow for the slope and let alone sitting in it. So that's where you've got to be a bit kind of canny with how you have things in here. A bedroom comes supplied as standard as we see in here. Like I said, it's a slightly darker tint bedroom to hopefully reduce any morning lights. We've still got a hanging point located in the bedroom as well. We've got currently a double airbed situated in there. There is also actually room to the right of it and room to the left a bit to probably get maybe a roll mat inside. But if you're talking airbeds, I think really you're looking at maybe a single and a double airbed. And that's going to fill the room, and you'd always have, because of the sort of shape of it, these sort of dead corners, which we'll look at in just a moment. We've got a mesh part built onto the main bedroom itself, and you can, if you wanted to use it without the bedroom completely, it comes supplied as standard, but then you can sort of sleep wherever you really want to, so that's an option. But it's quite nice to have a bit of something a bit darker. The thing I quite like, which I've come up with, and it's not the design feature of the tent, is you can unclip the top part of the bedrooms, and almost there's a little bit of a, where the elastic toggle points is, feed it through that bit there. Now what that's doing is making the tent feel a little bit bigger because you haven't got the inner bedroom feeling it, so your bedding's still there, but headroom height around here seems perfectly fine. And we've got a hanging point for a lantern above me here, and I was quite surprised actually how stable that top part really is. That works really quite nicely as well. But so let's get the camera and get a feel for inside our little hut. Here we go. So, like I said, I've popped the bedroom area back, so it's not obviously the full height. But you can see at the top there, we've also got the ventilation point. And we've got the hanging point for a lantern located there. And again, you've got little Velcro tabs leading down for a main hookup point. So, down the very corner down there, there's a little cable entry point right at the bottom there. And there's also seemingly one into the actual bedroom inner itself. Still Velcro tabs running around the beams. And we've got that kind of window scenario. So we've got the top part, which is PVC window, and then we've got mesh down the bottom here. So we can, like I said, zip it up halfway to get kind of the weather tightness. Still have the visibility, or take it fully up to the top as we need to. Fully sewn in ground sheet in the whole model as well. So again, it gives a much more of a kind of a thorough feel. But yeah, it's okay. It's mainly the spacing in here. You kind of got two sort of chairs in there. I say for a couple, I think it would be about right, but anything bigger, it might be a little bit of a push. But as we kind of, I do quite like the way it looks actually. I do think it looks really quite sharp, and the little extra bits in the front, these little corners, I think do a good job. Let's have a look at it from the back. So you see you've got that top roof vent up there. But I think also the colour scheme is really quite nice. It's a mix of kind of like emerald green, mineral green, and kind of the kind of darker green as well. But certainly something a bit interesting, something a bit different. It's a model, if you want to know more information about it, you're welcome to check the link below this video. Its pack size is quite small, we've got little details on that as well, things like pack size, weight. But I think certainly from a feel point of view, I do like the feel of a teepee. Traditional, cozy. It feels a bit, yeah, I don't know what it is. Just kind of feels a bit very snug, I suppose. But it's the space inside of it that you do lose. You know, for quite a big pitch. You know, it's 40 wide by nearly, I think, 560 long. Which, if you took that in comparison to another tent, I think there's a lot more usable space in there. So if you want something like this for a couple, again, it's a big space for a couple. But again, it's quirky. It's something different. It's a teepee, you know. Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. So anyway, more information, check the link below this video. Let us know your comments. It's always great to hear feedback from you, be it good, bad, or ugly, or what you think of it. And yeah, in essence, something a bit different. Quite nice to something a bit fresher and newer in kind of Vango's collection. So that's our little Attwoolls video review on the Vango Teepee Air 400.